music, you know, in my view, you know, we have a little feel and can last and play them tomorrow and today, you know. So I see that as growth musically. You understand? I see that as musical growth. I see maturity within the music for even I and I as a person and becoming a man, you know. So therefore, this album, every album supposed to possess something where the next one never have, you know. So therefore, just stay tuned because the best is yet to come.
Welcome to the Vault Podcast, classic music reviews, presented by IV Creative. Now, here's your hosts, B. Cox and the crew.
Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Vault Podcast, classic music reviews, presented by IV Creative. It's a perspective on the classics from a fresh point of view. We appreciate you for taking your time and lending your ears to our perspective. You could be anywhere listening to anything, but you're right here with us, so thank you. With you today is yours truly, B. Cox, and with me, I have a different part of my crew, a guest part of the crew. Once again, I'd like to welcome none other than Kahlil Wonda from Highlander Sound and also from the Reggae Lover Podcast. Kahlil and his partner Agar do a great job on the Reggae Lover Podcast weekly. You can check that out. They've been running a lot of reruns over the past few weeks and just had their season debut just of this week on the recording of this episode. So they're back, so make sure you go check it out. They actually did an interview with me that should be coming up in their new season. So make sure you're subscribing to the Reggae Lover Podcast and following them and checking out everything that's going on. So they're here to break down this next album with me. Kahlil, what going on?
Yo, what going, brethren?
Everything good, man. Everything good. Yeah, so here we are today to break down yet another classic album. Of course, as you know, we're here. Our motto here at the Vault Classic Music Reviews is hashtag open the vault, hashtag nothing but the classics. And we have yet another one here today. I would even venture to say an all-timer, going all the way back to 25 years ago in the summer of 1995, all the way back a yard to Jamaica, and our boy Buju Banton Gargamel and his classic album Til Shiloh, released July 18th, 1995, also re-released in 2002, recorded between 1994 and 1995, length of 56 minutes and 33 seconds, released on Loose Cannon Records and also Island Records, and re-released on Island Records as well in 2002. The producers for this album: Donovan Germain, Lisa Cortez, Bobby Digital Dixon, Dave Rude Boy Kelly, Sylvester Gordon, and the famous duo of Steely and Clevie, and Buju, of course, having writing duties on this as well. So Kahlil, 25 years ago, Til Shiloh came out. This is the 25th anniversary, and Buju actually just put out a brand new album, Upside Down 2020, about a couple of weeks ago now, and I have not had the opportunity to listen to it yet. Have you had a chance to listen to it?
Yeah, man, I listened to the Upside Down and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Yeah, man, I don't want to give away too much since you haven't checked it out yourself, but I would definitely encourage everyone that's a Buju fan to purchase a copy of the album, buy the stream, however you get your music, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe not however you get your music. Support the music.
Yeah.
Actually buy a copy in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, buy it. They definitely support, especially an artist like Buju that has been putting out music for well over 30 years now, a recording career that has spanned now 3 decades, going into 4 different decades now since he started as a youth in Jamaica. And Buju's been through a lot and the different transitions in his career, Kahlil, from pretty much starting out as your conventional dancehall artist to transitioning a little bit more once he transition to Rastafarianism and having more conscious in his lyrics and his music, and then sort of keeping on that wave, mixing it up a little bit between dancehall and roots reggae. And then Buju was then put into prison here in the United States. And Buju was released late in 2018. Last year, had his Long Walk to Freedom tour that started in Jamaica and went all across the Caribbean to rave reviews, people that were glad to see Buju back. And during those 9 years, many of us missed him and missed his presence within the reggae community. And now that he's back with a vengeance and back to recording lots of music. So, but 25 years ago is Til Shiloh. Now, this is an album, Kahlil, that is highly regarded, not just by those in the reggae community and dancehall, but music lovers all abound love this album. and they love it for many different reasons. I can remember just by having this CD and playing it when I used to play CDs in my car, that I would get reactions from people that would hear it, and it would be all kinds of people. It would be white people, Hispanic people, Asians, all people who either loved the music in general or big reggae fans. They loved Til Shiloh. So just to sort of get an idea of your first reaction when you first heard the album, and then also what your reaction to it as the years have gone on, and has your opinion on it changed since then?
Sure. So first reaction to hearing the album, albums were not ever really the thing within, like, in Jamaica, like in the hardcore dancehall world. We don't normally flock to albums. We just listen to songs, and rhythms.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So whatever the hot tunes, whatever the hot rhythms are, that's what we listen to. That's what we bump. So it's rare that, albums actually like hold everyone's attention. And this happened to be one of those albums. Buju is one of those artists that when he puts out a project, it's one that's really worth having and just playing back to front, over and over. And this Til Shiloh is no different. So that was my first reaction to it. When it came out in 95, I was living in Brooklyn, New York still. I think the following year I moved down to Georgia. And about 2-3 years later, that's when my cousin and my brother and I started Highlander Sound System. So we started our own sound system. So we started collecting records, and this album was one of the first vinyl, to be in the box for sure. And as a DJ, it's a valuable piece of vinyl because you can you could play the whole entire album. This is one of the albums that you would get 2 copies of, so that you could put one on one turntable and put the other on the other turntable, and then you can mix back and forth in and out of the songs without having to put another record on for a while. That's how. So, like in terms of throughout all those years of DJing, starting in the late 90s, a lot of these songs were still relevant, could still be played. A lot of the rhythms lasted a very long time, both the reggae and the dancehall, on there. So, that was like throughout the years, and obviously that was a long time ago now. So,
yeah.
At this point, the songs are so big that, when you need to warm up a crowd or you need a surefire certified hit, a lot of DJs will draw for a Bob Marley record. A lot of the songs on this album are now in that category. Like, if you're not sure of the crowd's taste, you can kind of try out using several of the songs on this album, and you're going to be safe.
Yeah. And that's saying something, that you would get 2 records to make sure that you can juggle between and keep a set playing, and that you could play that set through up to about 45 minutes to an hour, which is crazy because you can't say that about a lot of records. And like you said, and as far as like in the reggae community and dancehall community, people weren't necessarily just into albums. It was more like rhythms or actual songs. And then you would get those songs on stuff like Green Sleeves or Strictly the Best, or as we know later on into the 90s, Reggae Gold. And you took a collection of different things, but to have one artist be able to put out a work like this was amazing. Now, this is what I can say really kind of launched Buju into, even before this. I mean, with Voice of Jamaica, he had made his headway into the American market, but this was the one that I think that really kind of solidified his position amongst American listeners. And if you're a reggae artist and you make it in America, I mean, you could make it worldwide, but if you make it in America, you make it big. And that, to me, I think has taken Buju's legacy and taken it from just being here on Earth to out of the stratosphere. Just to give you an idea, I went to go see Beanie Man perform about 3 or 4 years ago, and he was at a club here in Bliss. And Beanie's in his set, and he's saying something, who y'all wanting to free so? Cartel or Buju? And it's a mixed crowd in there, right? So it's probably about, some people in my generation, some folks a little bit, us Zennials, some folks Gen X, millennials, and definitely Gen Zers. But you would have think that there would have been a number of people in there that would have been like free Cartel. Everybody, 90%, about 95% of the room said Buju, and you could hear it. And it's crazy that like his influence has spanned that long over such a long period of time, especially him not having put out music over the last decade or so because of his legal problems, which is just kind of speaks. And I think that sort of goes back to that. My reaction when I heard this was a CD that my sister had that she played all the time in her car, and I rode with her a lot to go do things. And I actually took this CD from her, and I took it and I never gave it back. I don't even think she even asked me for it. I don't know whether she knew I took it and just wanted me to have it, but I played this and I couldn't stop playing it. And like I said, I told you all in our interview segment that Buju is one of my favorite reggae artists. He's probably of modern reggae artists, he's my favorite, absolute favorite. And it's everything. It's about his, his voice, his cadence, his pacing, his delivery, the message, the production that he has on that with the different rhythms that he features on many of his albums. And this was really what got me started into it. And I started putting my friends onto it, and they weren't even reggae fans and they loved it, So to me, I think this album probably has arguably, I would say at least 3, maybe 4 of Buju's top 10 songs. If you will poll people and ask them, give me your top 10 Buju records, you can easily ask them, and they say there's at least 3 or 4 of Buju's top 10 songs are in that top 10 from this album alone. And if you want to go top 20, you can say there's probably 7 or 8 songs that are in Buju's top 20 just from that one. And even outside of those ones, there's some incredible tracks here on this album. And some of the guest spots you see on here, there's guest spots from the late, great Garnett Silk. May he rest in peace and continue to rest in peace and his legacy live on. Wayne Wonder as well. And the producers that we talked about that were on here, like Steely and Clevie and Donovan Jermaine and Rude Boy Kelly, just really, really massive production on here with the rhythms that were put through, and then good use of live instrumentation on the ones that didn't necessarily contain rhythms. So a good representation of someone who was taking a step to the next level. And then as the time has gone on, I've run into more and more people that have come and said, yo, I play something, like I post a Buju link from YouTube from a song from Til Shiloh, and I'll get mad people that will come up to me and say, yo, I love that album, or I love this song, or Buju's my man. And I think that speaks to it much more so than anything else. And the fact that we're 25 years later now looking at this album and talking about it, I think that kind of just speaks to me. You could run down that list, like I said, of Buju's top 10 or 20 songs, and there's a number of songs that are on this album alone that could probably fill half of that top 10 or top 20.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my favorite song is on this album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just of all songs.
Okay. So we're actually going to get into that. We're going to go right into highlights and lowlights. I'm guessing there won't be many lowlights here, but we'll go through your highlights now as far as just some songs that you want to point out of what you like and why you like. And so we'll run down to them. So we'll start with the list that you have as your favorites and highlights on here.
Yeah, my number one song on this album and one of my favorite songs of all times, maybe my favorite song, is Untold Stories.
Yes.
Now, I have like a very deep, visceral relationship with this song. Just the lyrics in the song and the delivery. The delivery is so passionate. I feel like I can relate a lot to the lyrics. And I love the way that Buju really puts his love for his people, in the song. And even though, Voice of Jamaica was the previous album, this song, he continues to be the voice of Jamaica.
Yes, exactly.
On this song, because, he's talking about, and it's something that is relevant now. Look at what's going on. You got the COVID over here and the racism and everything exploding. Mm-hmm. And he's like, who can afford to run will run, but what about those who can't? So I just love, I'm saying, the sentiment right there. Untold Stories is big. Of course, Murderer is a huge hit.
Yeah.
Anytime. Those are two that, as a DJ, you could throw it on and then drop out the volume. And then you're going to have like the dance hall chorus, the choir. Everybody just sings and sings and sings and sings and sings. I used to play the a cappella to Untold Stories, and will always get a big forward because everybody just loved the song so much.
Yeah.
Same thing with Murderer. You know, you hear the rhythm strike up and the way that it's mixed down, and then you hear Murderer, and then the crowd responds. Yeah. Same thing goes with Wanna Be Loved. Again, you know, and that's one of those songs I was telling, like any type of crowd, you know, if you're in a party and it's kind of dead, or, you know what I'm saying, the sound trips out, the power went out, something stopped the flow, you could throw on I Wanna Be Loved and just restart the party. Everybody's vibes is up immediately.
Yeah.
Another one I love is What You Gonna Do.
Yeah.
Now, that one, I remember in 95, there was a sound clash in Brooklyn with LP International was the sound. I think they were clashing against Kilimanjaro Disco from Jamaica. One of the top sounds in the business going against one of the top Brooklyn sounds at the time. And later on in the dance, LP wasn't doing that well. They were kind of down in the competition, and they played this song. Like, you know, so it wasn't a dub plate. It wasn't Buju Banton that voiced it specifically for LP International. It was just the pre-release of the song. So the album hadn't come out yet, and they had a copy of that song, and they were able to play it in a sound clash and get a good crowd response. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I bet.
And it's a love tune.
Yeah, I know. And that's and in a sound clash, you don't get the big forwards in the sound clash from a love tune, you know? It's because, oh, yeah, you're right, man. You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, man. And then that's rhythm. The rhythm that's on is known as Swing Easy.
Swing Easy rhythm, yes.
And Sensimania Persecution is on that same rhythm. And that's another, I love that song as well. And I'm pretty much going to end up running through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Complaint featuring Garnet Silk. You know, there was a big Garnet Silk hit, and this is a remake version featuring Buju, just two of everyone's favorite artists. You know, natural hit right there. Then you have songs like Till I'm Laid to Rest and Not the Easy Road. Chuck It. So, like all of these songs are hitting really hard. So
yeah,
those are some of the reggae highlights for me. Even the intro at the top of the album, strange this feeling I'm feeling. Yeah. Oh, John, everybody knows that whole 20-second riff right there.
You think my faith is invented. I go be chant Rastafari's name. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's, oh man, I was young and I went to a Buju concert and he opened up the concert with that. And it was just like the place went up just from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the concert tour, the tour for Til Shiloh? By any chance?
I don't know if it was that one or if he was touring after Inner Heights. I think it may have been after Inner Heights when I went to that tour. I was young. I was still in high school when we went to that.
Too.
Yeah, so it was, yeah.
Yeah, I went to the Til Shiloh, man. I swear it must have been like 4,000 or 5,000 people, and that was here in Atlanta. And it was just a magical moment in time. Like, never forget it, man. I remember, at one point he got a what they call a gun salute in the dance hall. Somebody shoots in the air, so they bust a blank or something in the air, as being like that's the loudest crowd response that you could get, So that's the height of the vibes.
Yeah.
And like he was on stage and his eyes just opened up like super wide for the first time the whole night, and he just kept singing. And everybody just stood up where they were, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like, dang, vibes couldn't be higher. And then, of course, this album has the dancehall standards, Champion and Only Man. Those two are enormous. I mean, on big dancehall rhythms. And you have It's All Over and Rampage as well, which just... big in the dance hall. You could play those anytime, anywhere, and people gonna dance. The ladies gonna go wild. If there's any low light, it would be Hush Baby Hush. It's a nice song. It's not a bad song. It's essentially an album cut, and it adds the ska flavor to the album.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to say one that's not like my least favorite on the album that could have been left off and I would be okay, it would be Hush Baby Hush.
Hush Baby
It's
Hush.
still a nice tune. It's not a bad song.
Yeah.
And his new album Upside Down it's a solid album. Very similarly, it's 20 songs on the thing. You know, so there's a couple that you could categorize as album tracks, but you know, he puts together such solid bodies of work. I mean, can't really say that there's any lowlights.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a lot of the same. From the intro on, right until when you go into Until I'm Laid to Rest, it's almost like you feel like at that moment, that's when I knew this was going to be a different Buju record than Voice of Jamaica or anything else that he had put out afterwards, because the message was so strong and it just, you know, sounded so connected back to the people of Jamaica. But then not only that, but spiritually also led to a different place as well when you get from the intro of Til Shiloh all the way back into Till I'm Laid to Rest. And then you get into that, you know, as I always say, we know about Murderer. I mean, I think that was the first reggae song I could sing out loud in the house and not get in trouble for it because the message behind it was good, you know? So, and it was, you know, and then of course, you know, Champion, that's, like I said, that's in Buju's top 10. That might be in his top 5 actually of tracks all time. Both of those, Murderer and Till I'm Laid to Rest. And then another one that's in his top 5s, which is my favorite as well, is Untold Stories. And you mentioned it. I connect spiritually a different way to that song more than any other song on this album because of the message.
It's not just me.
Yeah, no, it is, man. And I remember singing Buju a video of him perform and doing this song, and literally he gets through 2 bars of singing the first part of the verse, and after that he just stopped singing because everybody else was singing. I mean, and everybody was singing. You know how sometimes you hear crowds and sometimes you hear people say, I'm a living while I'm living, to the Father I will pray. And then it sort of drops down a little bit because people don't know the words. No, everybody knew every word of this song. You know?
The whole song.
Yeah.
I liken it to a Redemption song from Marley, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And that's my favorite as well. Same thing. It's Not an Easy Road. That's another one that's you know, they would call now a oldie but goodie because it has a very classic sound to it. You know, and it sounds like it could have come from another era outside of outside of that dancehall and reggae era. And once you get into Complaint as well, I mean, it's Garnet Silk, and I sit and shake my head all the time about how he was taken. He was only, I believe, 24 years old or something like that, very young. And you had 2 unique talents right there in dancehall and in reggae, between Garnet Silk and Buju. 2 people who were connected to the people and who had a spirituality. You listen to their music, it's a spiritual experience that is bring the people through. You know, people connect to the music like that. And that remake with Buju just sort of set the album. Everything else, like, you know, Chuck It So and, you know, It's All Over, things like that are just all just great tunes. And Wanna Be Loved was a track that I came across that I didn't think that I liked that much when I first heard it, but then it grew on me, and then more when I saw the video for this. I was actually watching stuff like Caribbean Rhythms on BET and saw this video all the time. It's All Over. I have to agree with you again on What You're Gonna Do. And that version of the Swing Easy Rhythm that Donovan Germain does, I think that might be my favorite version of that rhythm. It's a rhythm that's been remade over and over again. There are many versions of that rhythm, as you well know as a selector, but, you know, that version of that Swing Easy Rhythm with those horns. And I think that's my favorite version, that particular version of the Swing Easy Rhythm. And Wade Wonder was a frequent collaborator with Buju early in his career. Later on in his career, they didn't collaborate as much. And that's when people started to link Buju and Barris up, and rightfully so. But early in his career, Wayne Wonder and Buju were doing a lot of things together and a few tracks together. And this is probably, I would say, my favorite one out of all the ones that they've done. And like you said, it's a love song, right? But it's such a smooth type of love song. It really is. And with Wayne's vocals on the hook and on the chorus, you know, and it's the simple chorus, you know, it just fits perfectly. The rhythm, Buju's vocals, and Wayne's vocals just make everything come together. And then in the original pressing of the album, after you get that, you get the Champion remix, which is actually a remix that was taken from an Ice Cube record for You Know How We Do, which was on his Lethal Injection album that came out, I believe, in 1994. That instrumental that you hear is coming from that.
Yeah.
Now, for my friends that weren't reggae fans, they heard this version of the remix, and that's really what helped turn them on to this album.
Nice. Yeah. Nah, it's a real cool, I mean, like West Coast sounding remix.
Yeah.
And Buju's voice fits good on it.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you know, Only Man, of course, is another one, as you say, Rampage. And then Rampage and Similar Persecution, it's interesting, I think, that they took this and stuck this on the reissue, especially because there was already a song with the Swing Easy Rhythm on there. And, you know, you sort of get those tracks very close together. It's two different versions of the Swing Easy Rhythm. This is another memorable one as well. But that's a good song. And for me, you know, in my heavy weed smoking days, this would be something that would be on my mixtape, you know? So
right, same here.
You know? So that was a big thing to be able to put out there. I liked Hush Baby Hush, but to me it sounded like, again, another throwback, a track that maybe my parents would have, you know, listened to back in their days. It would have been something that when they were going to dance halls and to dances, that would have been something that would have played during their particular time. But just a collection of tracks here that were well put together, and all of the rhythms and the producers who worked on this, and Buju's voice, like literally you could say, like you said, Buju's the voice of Jamaica. To me, I want to say when it comes to distinct voices in this era of reggae and dancehall, he has to be the most distinctive out of all of them. And there are a lot of distinct voices. You could think about Bounty Killer, you could think about Capleton, Barris, you could think about Sanchez, you could think about guys like Spragga Benz. They all have very unique and distinct voices, but nobody's voice is like Buju's voice. And back then, his voice was still really, he still has a very strong voice, but at that point he was probably at the height of his powers in regards to how strong his voice was. And being able to take that voice and then project it to be able to, you know, to get the message out to the people and for people to really connect to that. Buju's always really had that sort of that temperament about him that he connects from the people because of his background and because of where he came from in his beginnings, that it seems like people from not just from Jamaica, but folks from all over around the Caribbean and the world can sort of connect with him. He did a interview with Hot 97 right on the same day that Upside Down came out with Ebro in the morning with Peter Rosenberg and a few other people. And just you can hear just the conviction that Buju always talked to. You know, every time that you hear an interview with Buju, he's always going to drop some gems for you. And you always sort of know that even after all this time, the same thinking that he had back with Til Shiloh was still present with him today. Because as you said, the themes are still present today. In Jamaica and around the Caribbean and in the world, we're dealing with crises that people dealt with even back then. And it's good to see that he still has that message there. And I can't wait to crack that album open and listen to it this weekend. But yeah, those are my favorites. You know, the rhythms on there, not just the Swing Easy one, but of course the Murderer of the Far East rhythm, Ketty Drum rhythm with Till I'm Raised to Rest, and then the tempo rhythm with Complaint, which was the one with the remix with Garnet Silk. But all just really, really good things there, man. You know, not really a bad spot on this album. No lowlights at all. And I mean, even the one that you would want to, you know, like say it's an album track, it's something that it's still a good tune that you don't have to necessarily press forward on the track, skip the track, you know. So
right,
yeah, but those are our highlights and lowlights. And as you can see, there's not many lowlights. To talk a little bit about the legacy of this album. Now, you listen to a lot of dancehall artists that are out there, especially the younger ones. I know in particular, listening to some dancehall artists like Jamil, and also like Kabaka Pyramid, and also even Coffee, and a few other dancehall artists, Chronics, have all said that this is an album that, you know, was very influential to them coming up as youths in Jamaica and wanting to get involved in the music. This was something that, you know, was very influential to all of them. Do you feel that same sort of, you know, amongst, you know, your Caribbean brethren? I mean, I know that I have, but amongst your group of friends, not just from Jamaica where you lived, but even from Guyana where you're from and in the circles you traveled, like how has that, I guess, you know, that legacy sort of transcended throughout time as these years have gone on?
Of this album, I mean, I feel like this is in everybody's top 5, if not 10. You know what I'm saying? This is that one, like, my wife happens to be a Buju Banton fan as well. Mm-hmm. Album is, you know, one of the albums that put her onto reggae music. Mm-hmm. So anytime I draw for this, you know what I'm saying, road trip or just anytime, any day, mm-hmm. It's like, yo, thank you, you know, like it could run.
Yeah.
So a lot of I think that if young artists are not studying this work right here, then I think they should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, just to put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I even in the new video that Buju had on his new album, there was a scene where he was sitting in, you know, like some sort of bar or gathering in the in Jamaica, and he's talking to some, you know, there's some elders there that are there, and he's sort of speaking to them, and they're talking about the times and who makes a cameo in the video other than Coffee. And Buju's bigging her up, you know, giving her props and telling her to, you know, keep doing what she's doing. You know, that's crazy to see, like how the generations connect like that. I'm glad to see him back, and this album is what started it all. And so we'll now get to our final verdict, Kahlil, and I don't think it's a big surprise here. This is the spoiler alert of the year. We have our rating here on the Vault Classic Music Reviews, as you know, 4 classifications. Is it certified classic, borderline classic, classic in its time, or not a classic at all? And I'm guessing I know what you're going to say.
Certified classic through and through.
Yes.
One of the best of the 90s and one of the best ever.
Yes. Certified classic for me as well. And to me to say that this is one of the best reggae albums released in the last 25 years will be an understatement. I'll go as far as to say it's probably one of the best reggae albums that have been released since I've been born. Okay.
Yeah.
And the original music, not any re-released or compilations. I'm saying this is probably up there, probably 1 or 2 best reggae albums that I personally think since I've been born, and that was 1982. So, you know, it's been some great music out there, but this really, I think, is what turned me into a reggae head and a reggae lover. I mean, I listened to a lot of different things, Buju's early stuff, Shaba stuff, as I mentioned, Super Cat, but this is really what got me into digging and listening to reggae music on my own. So much props out there for this album, Untitled Shiloh, 25 years ago. Make sure that you go out there and listen to it anywhere where you can get music and pick it up, please. And then also make sure you go check out Buju's new album, Upside Down 2020. I'll be checking it out this weekend, and I'll make sure to support as well.
Yeah, just to co-sign that, I mean, I don't know if you knew that Untitled Shiloh went certified gold, I think last year.
Yeah. Wow.
So, you know, after 24 years, after the original release. So I just say that to say that Buju has a new album out now, and it was released a little bit over a week ago. And I know, people don't buy music like that anymore, and yeah, rah, like I get it, but you know what I'm saying? Like that would be money well spent.
Yes.
So I encourage everybody to go and cop the album. You know, my copy, you know, immediate differences is just that it's a different world, a different time now.
Yeah.
The music industry is different, and the reggae and dancehall business is different. So back when Till Shiloh came out, this album contains the rhythms that were playing throughout all the dances of that era. Mm-hmm. It contains the hot rhythms, the hot styles and swag of that time. Upside Down, right now there is no dominant rhythms and things like that in dancehall and reggae.
Yeah.
You know, it's just really different than the heyday of the 90s when it comes to that.
Yeah.
When you look, you know, when you buy the Upside Down and you listen to it, it's going to be just a completely different experience. Still very good, still much quality, but it's not going to be surrounded by like that context where you can take many of the songs and mix them in and out of the rhythms that they're on with other popular music that's out. So a lot of uniqueness coming through on this one, which is good in my opinion. It's definitely a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm looking forward to listening to it. And it's crazy that 24 years after Till Shiloh came out, it just turned gold last year. So people, please support the artist, especially Buju, because he has a partnership with Rock Nation, and he also has his own record labels, Gargamel Records. So please support the artist, and support an artist especially as important as Buju Banton, please. So please go check out Till Shiloh and go check out Upside Down 2020. So before we get out here, Kahlil, I want to make sure that you big up yourself again and just tell every people where they can find you, and also the Reggae Lover Podcast and Highlander Sound and everything, where they can find you and how they can follow you.
Yes, thank you very much. Just launched a new website at reggaelover.com. So please visit that website, and that's the central landing page for all things podcast related and Highlander sound related. All the links are there. On all your social media, it's Reggae Lover Podcast. And yeah, man, hit us up. Take a listen to the show. Look out for the episode coming up featuring Brian Cox from the Vault Classic Music Reviews. Big up to you and your whole team, man. Keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, shouts out to all your listeners. Thank you so much for having me on the platform yet again.
Yeah, man, big up. Yes, thank you for respect for coming on, and appreciate you and A-God for everything you all do for the reggae community and also for Caribbean people worldwide. If you all get a chance, listen to the latest episode that just came out. It's called Caribbean Black Lives Matter, where it's a great discussion that everyone in regard to the events that have gone on recently, go and listen to it from a perspective from the Caribbean and also by those of us who have expatriated to America and have now living the American experience as well. So please go check that out.
Thank you, man. Yeah, very... You'll hear some different perspectives, I'm sure.
Yes, I did, and I agreed with a lot of them and could see the perspective of a lot of them as well.
Yeah, man.
And that is going to wrap up yet another edition of The Vault. Please make sure you check us out on our new host, Red Circle. You can also download, stream, and subscribe to the Vault Classic Music Reviews on any one of our streaming sources. You can go to any one of our social media sites, get to our link tree. You can get to all of our streaming platforms, and then also all of our social media pages. Again, you can find us on @VaultCMR Podcast on Instagram, @Vault Classic on Twitter, and on YouTube and Facebook. You can search us, The Vault Classic Music Reviews. You can follow us, like, and also subscribe. The page is there. We always like to get the interaction from our followers on social media. We do it all for you. We appreciate all the support, and if you have a friend, tell a friend, and make sure that that friend tells a friend. Always remember to keep your headphones on and your music loud, but not too loud. And as we close, we'd like to remind everyone to dream big, because dreams are the basis for creation. Always create, motivate, and elevate, because you were never destined or created to stay stationary in this life. And on that note, we say peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening and coming into The Vault. Please subscribe and follow us on Facebook at IV Creative and Instagram at IVECRE8.